All right, welcome to another episode of Closers or Losers. I didn't even put the screen in the background. We've been so busy today, but I want to welcome everybody here. Here is our co-host, the CEO of Seventh Level. Matt, how is Sydney, Australia treating you? You're in the Sydney office.
I am. Shh, don't tell anyone.
I will not tell anybody because I think you guys are shut down again. You had like 10 cases of COVID in the whole city, so they shut you guys down for a couple weeks, I heard, right?
Yeah, we got like 60 people in the country in hospitals, so they locked down about 6 major cities.
So, oh my good Lord.
I don't want to talk about it. It upsets me.
I know, man. I can never see our new Sydney office since COVID. That's crazy. So, all right. So we've got a great episode today. We're specifically going to focus on what it really takes to scale a business. And within that, well, really how to increase sales that scales your business. Okay. So if you're brand new to our podcast, we are a show, we're a company that helps sales professionals like you, coaches, sales leaders, executives, business owners. We help you and your teams transform the way you sell by learning specific skills, and techniques that work with human behavior. We call those neuro-emotional persuasion questions, stands for NEPQ, with the right tonality, put your prospects at ease, eliminates sales pressure, causes your prospects and your salespeople's prospects to disarm themselves where they want to engage with you, they want to open up to you. So Matt, let's talk about as a business owner, because we have a lot of business owners that listen to the show, that watch us on YouTube. We have a lot of sales professionals here as well, learning how to sell. Let's talk about the easiest way to really scale a business is to make more sales. I'm going to let you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think business growth, like a lot of the time they're pigeonholed by how fast they can scale a sales team. Because I think like delivery is one of those things that I think if you're aware of some of the problems, they're not the hardest problems in the world to fix. You can fix them with just adding more people, more accountability. This is for a coaching business particularly. Also, like even most other businesses, back-end structures, like you can usually find good administrative operators relatively simply and put them into place. So like if your sales are really good, you can support that growth through infrastructure somewhat simply if you're aware that it's going to be a problem, right?
Okay. So the average business owner out there, because we train hundreds of different industries from, medical device sales, B2B, SaaS, all the way to coaching, B2C, all the way to real estate, just everything you can think of, we train those industries. The average company, what do you think is the biggest reason why they don't scale?
I think, first of all, a lot of the time the owners they think they have an idea of how the salesperson should work, but they're not sales experts. And so their processes are a little bit archaic. And also they teach sales as product knowledge. They don't teach persuasion skills. They don't teach sales skills. They don't teach people how to get the right problems, ask the right questions. And so their guys end up being essentially order takers and product pushers.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you anymore. So, before you came, I know you came on here as the CEO about a year ago or whenever it was, but one of our first B2B clients, and you already know this story before you were here as the CEO, this was like 3 years ago when I started the company. One of our very first clients, we trained 4 divisions of Google AdWords. We just went straight to the top. We're like, we're not going to train any SMB or any small companies. We're just going to train one of the biggest ones in the world. And so when we went in there, I'm thinking like, okay, Google's already making billions of dollars. Why would they even want us here? Blah, 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 blah. And we sat down. And basically I asked him, okay, walk me through, like if I'm a salesperson starting for you today, what would my training look like? It's one of the first questions I asked. And they're like, oh, we bring in, XYZ who's trains them how the product works and how the cloud works and how this works and how AdWords works and blah, 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 blah. And basically what I found is their definition of sales training was just product knowledge. They were order takers. They were calling leads, inbound leads, outbound leads, cold calling. And they thought just because they had this huge reputation that everybody would buy, right? Now, some people did, but because they just had that product knowledge, their attrition rate was horrendous. They would have 50 to 60% of the salespeople they hire would be gone 90 days later. 50%. Can you imagine running a company?
The costings of that is insane.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. The cost of hiring and retraining and hiring and retraining salespeople was costing them tens of millions of dollars a year. So when I basically pulled back the curtain by some of those questions, and then they had me go out on the floor to those different divisions and just tune in and listen to some of the calls, they were just order takers. They were product pushers. Hi, how's it going? We heard you're interested in this. Let me tell you how it works and blah, blah, blah. And then have a certain percentage that would just buy, maybe 10% or 15%. We came in, wrote out their sales structures where they learned how to help the prospect they were talking to find problems that they didn't even think they had. Because like we talk about, most of your prospects, does not matter what industry you're in or what you sell, don't even realize they have a problem. Or maybe they realize they have a problem, but they don't know how bad the problem is. Or maybe they know they have the problem, but they don't know the consequences of what will happen if they don't solve it. Or maybe when you learn skilled questioning like we teach, through your questions, we're able to help them find 2 other problems or 3 or 4 or 5 other problems. And now you become very credible in their mind as more of an expert or authority who's going to get them where they want to be, going to get them results. And that's when, as you know, within the first quarter, 244% uplift in sales in those 4 divisions. They didn't even believe it. They had to go back and audit the results 4 times. But that's because we taught them how to be problem finders and problem solvers. Whereas I think what you're saying, most business owners, because they're just not familiar with persuasion and how to use human behavior, or more, basically teach them how the product works and go out and talk about the advantages and benefits of the product, and then a certain percentage are going to buy, and that's what you have to accept, right?
Yeah, exactly. There's a lot of hidden costs to not really understanding sales, and I think that a lot of business owners, they usually start out as like the solopreneur, and then businesses grow. Even Google, right? Amazon, that's how it started, right?
Course, yeah.
But like, if they'll do a process, then what they'll do is they'll move on, and then they'll outsource that, or hire someone to do the process. They'll do the next one. And it's like, just because they did that and were successful in it, that doesn't mean that's the right way to do it. Yeah. Especially with smaller companies, or like 50 people, 50 people down. There's a lot of business owners that were probably in the trenches doing the sales for a long time. They had a particular way of doing it. And maybe they were the guy on the news ad, the guy on the radio ads, the guy on the one who was doing the TV ads or on the Facebook ads or whatever. And so they come with a certain level of authority, and they come with a certain level of charisma, being the business owner, that is not replicatable by the stock standard sales guy. I did a consultation with a fairly successful business owner the other day, and they were asking us to find them some sales killers, right? Yeah. And I was like, okay, talk to me about what you've done in the past. They used another recruitment agency for salespeople, and they didn't have a good result. They were very green. And I was like, okay, but I kind of dove a bit deeper, and I was like, well, my concern is that if your business model can only be successful with elite level salespeople, it's not a very good business model. I was like, you need to be able to be successful with mid-tier. Now, my definition of mid-tier is probably different, right? But like, if you require like the best, like, you probably don't pay enough.
Hard to scale.
It's hard to scale. So unless you have what you need is a mechanism where you bring in the right people with a good level of skill, and then bring them into an environment where they can be really good, which is where the onboarding and the constant training, the development.
Where they can be taught the right skills to become better. Yeah.
Exactly. Because hiring killers is difficult. Like hiring top-notch salespeople, because like they get paid a lot of money.
Yeah.
And you're going to have to offer them more money and better work environments. So that's a difficult thing. And I don't think a lot of business owners realize, and he was like, oh, you're right. And I was like, so I don't want to hire someone for you, put them in the same situation they are now, when there's I need to be more involved in that. I need to make sure that they have at least 12 to 26 weeks of development. I need to make sure they have all these things in place, which we can do as part of that. But, there's just a lot of things that go into sales that I think a lot of business owners in particular kind of forget, or potentially they were good at doing things a certain way. But there needs to be that's what NEPQ, that's why I like it so much, because it can be kind of ubiquitously put into medical device sales, into pharmacy sales, into SaaS, into B2B, B2C coaching, or whatever. Like
Yeah, that's
you
why we
can
get so
mold
much
it to work.
duplication. Yeah,
Yeah.
you see that a lot. Like a lot of our clients come to us and like, well, we did XYZ training and it fell flat on its face, but yet it worked for a different industry that salesperson, that sales trainer sold in, right? Because it only works for that industry if you don't understand human behavior. With NEPQ, the reason why we train hundreds of different industries at this point and why it works in all of those industries, and we get huge testimonials. We've had over 3,000 in the last 2 years testimonials, is because it's duplicatable, because it's a step-by-step process, right? There's no winging it. There's no just getting on and talking about how great the products are, right? So it's all about, taking them down this path, right? Of, connecting questions to take the focus off you, put it on them, as you know, right? Situation questions to help them find out what their present situation is. Now, those questions are asked in every single industry, no matter what the product or service is. Those questions have to be asked. Problem awareness question, what their problems are, what the root cause, how did the problem happen, and more importantly, how is it affecting them? Those are questions, problem awareness, that can be asked in any industry. Doesn't matter if you're selling Lamborghinis, which we have stories about that, all the way to, freaking $5 magazines door to door. It doesn't matter. Solution awareness questions to get them to see what their future will look like, or we call that their objective state, once the problems that you just helped them discover in the last 15 minutes are solved. What's that going to look like? And then we yank that away with consequence question about what will happen if they don't do anything, right? And so they defend like, no, I have to change. And then we go into our presentation, if it's more of a 1 or 2 call close, right? And then we commit them to take the next step and purchase what we're offering to solve their problems. Now, if it's in a B2C, more complex selling environment, we're asking commitment questions to the next step, maybe a demo, or the next step is maybe a proposal. It's a series of smaller steps, commitment steps, that leads to the larger step of eventually purchasing what you're offering to solve their problem. But the reason why I think people are so shocked sometimes that it works all the way to selling millions of dollars of deals in B2B, all the way down to selling $5 magazine subscriptions, is because of that structure. That's why it's duplicatable. And most people outside of our company or people we train wouldn't even know what that is.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why we can bring salespeople in to our organization from all different realms and walks of life, and even ages, and then put them through a development cycle where they get better, And it's a bit of a conveyor belt. And I think that a lot of businesses don't understand that you need that conveyor belt, because if you want to keep the good people long term, you just get the good people, the culture fit, the right guys who have that work ethic and have the acumen to be able to learn. And you take them and you put them in a position where, like, they might not be dealing with the most high value prospects.
Yeah.
So then, like, if they're not perfect, it's fine. And then from there, you just work them up the chain. And that you need that portal access. You need that coaching. You need that consistent stuff within your organization and someone potentially to lead that. And if that's not your area of genius, if that's not your skill set, you know what I mean? Like marketing. Neither of us are marketing dudes. Like, we don't proclaim to be. So we hire marketing people to come in and advise us on how we can better market the business. Yeah. And so if we didn't do that, we'd just be looking at everything from a sales lens, and we'd just be trying to figure it out that way. And although we understand sales cycles well and processes, like, getting the interest is different.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, that's why, a lot of times when we hire salespeople for our other part of the business, where we, farm them out, like almost like a recruiting agency to companies, or, we internally train them for our internal teams itself for different accounts that we do they're selling for them, or even for us internally as a company, we hire a lot of young people. We have 18-year-olds that make 6 figures a year that are 18. Okay. How many salespeople that are 18 out there can say that? I don't know anybody. Okay.
Yeah.
But that's why a lot of times we like to hire younger people, because we can train them from the very start, where they're just coachable and learnable, and we train them the right skills and they just become savvy. And maybe this, one 18-year-old that's making $8,000 in a couple of years, he'll be making triple that for us. Okay.
Oh yeah.
His learning and development will just keep getting better, but it's like a factory belt. Now, on the flip side, if we have somebody that comes in that's in their late 50s or early 60s, we'd love to take them in and train them and maybe give them different accounts. But sometimes we have a struggle with them because they don't want to learn. They're not coachable. They have such a high ego that they feel that they're, the Egyptian, pharaoh or whatever, and they can't learn anything else that's going to help them make more sales. just because they've just been hardened. So sometimes we have to like almost break down their sales process and restart them to learn the right skills so they can double and triple their income. So that's why a lot of times we like to hire really, really young people, take them through the factory of learning and make them machines.
Yeah, I like to be really transparent with them and go, hey man, like this is, the first little bit, you're not going to make much money because we have to literally teach you how to do this step by step. And it's like, if you pay me to teach you, or we do it for free, but we can't pay you much money, right? That's a very short period of time though. Then from there, it's like, okay, cool. Now we're going to put you in a position to where you can utilize those skills. Now you're going to work your way up the thing. We actually had a chat with a bunch of the guys the other day, and I was just like, okay, all you guys need to start closing deals. I was like, no more just setting. You need to start. We have that product ladder for a reason, like we have 47, 147, 297, $497 products. And I was like, that's for you guys to start getting better at this, So all those leads that you don't think are sort of qualified enough at the moment to go into our bigger programs, like that's for you to start learning. Start making some mistakes, start learning from those mistakes.
No, we have savages, that we teach them how to DM. Matt's talking about DMing, to generate leads for various industries that we train as well. And we start them very young at just DMing, right? Getting booking leads through Facebook Messenger, LinkedIn, Instagram, all that stuff. And then eventually getting on sales calls, closing sales calls. And we just kind of teach them up that ladder of success. That's why we like to start them young.
Exactly. That's just important, They learn the good work ethic, and they can see, I think a lot of the time with anything really, like the first time when something hasn't been done before, or someone hasn't seen it been done, they don't always believe it's possible. Like the amount of guys that I say like, oh, Jeremy made 6 figures a month door knocking. Like but I door knock and it's not possible. I was like, no, you're just not as good. Like that's just what it is. Like you just have to be okay with it. It's like, how Kobe Bryant was way better than most other people at basketball. But like, if you'd never seen anyone as good as Kobe Bryant, you'd be like, no, that's not possible. You'd be like, no, that team there. It's just, they're better than you, and probably because there might be some natural acumen, but most of the time it's just because they worked really, really hard.
Yeah, it's just it's their skill level. It's like Kobe Bryant's skill level was just better than everybody else's.
Exactly. He also worked harder than most other people. There's usually a correlation between the two, right?
And you have to work hard at your skill level. That's how you get better.
Yeah, exactly. And you have to take it seriously. We have an internship going at the moment, and I basically yelled at everybody the other day because I
did not know this.
Yeah, well, I didn't. I was nice about it, but I was just like, raise your hand if over the last 6 to 7 weeks we've been, or maybe 8 weeks we've been doing it, if you've read the script that we gave you 100 times. And one guy picked up his phone, and I was like, you literally have one job, and it's to get better at sales to make more money. I was like, by the time, because I started training with you, I literally printed out the script that we did, and I read it about 50 times in bed every night.
Yeah, that's
how I recorded myself doing it, and then I played it in the car. Every time I got in the car, I played that over and over and over again. And then I would practice different ways of saying all the different questions.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's how I got good at it. Like, it's just because I just knew it. Yeah. Because I find a lot of the thing, this is a little bit of tangent. A lot of the time, the reason why people don't necessarily succeed at selling is, especially in the newer parts, is because they don't understand their process well enough so they can listen to the prospect. They're always waiting. They're like reading their script, trying to listen, and they're missing all the key things that the prospect.
They're missing all the cues.
Yeah, and so they don't probe on the right things to probe on. They don't interrupt at the right spots. They let bad thought patterns continue when they should be stopping them because their internal monologue is so loud I can hear it.
Yeah, because they don't know where to go next if they get knocked off. Like if the prospect does something different than the 10 before, or says something different, or throws out massive resistance at the beginning, they don't know how to handle it because they don't understand their process.
Yeah. I said, listen, guys, if you don't take this seriously, Michael Jordan practiced more than anybody else. Kobe Bryant practiced more than everybody else. These are the greats. They all had coaches. They all practiced an awful lot. If you don't want to be really good at this, then don't. I don't care. It doesn't affect my day. But if you want to make a lot of money in sales, there's only one way to do it, and it's to be really, really good at selling. And the only way you're going to do that is to practice. And if you're not willing, if you'd rather watch Netflix than practice, I don't want to make you better.
Yeah.
So you have to go out and
It's the same thing I did the first probably 5 to 6 years of my sales career. 7 days a week, I'd get up at 5 or 5:30 in the morning, and for an hour, rehearse, practice, write out new questions. This didn't work as well last time. How am I going to change the question? Literally did that 7 days a week before work and on Sundays before I went to church. Would get up very, very early, went to bed at 10, 11 at night because I had kids very young, and would rehearse and practice even when I got really, really good. Even when I was making 500,000-600,000 a year in income as a salesperson, like my 24, 25 years old, I was still doing that because I knew that if I wanted to be great at selling, not just good, but if I wanted to be the best, that I just had to outlearn everybody else. And that's what I did. I just outlearned everybody else, just like Kobe Bryant, just like Michael Jordan, just like LeBron James. They out-train and they out-skill everybody else. They hire personal coaches. In the off season, they're up at 4 a.m. shooting basketballs. And the guys who are okay or average, even in the NBA, they don't do that. They just go to regular practice. They just put in the minimal amount of effort. And that's why they don't get paid the big bucks. And it's just like in selling, the more effort you put in and the more skills, you have to learn the right skills. Like even Michael Jordan says, you can shoot 1,000 jump shots a day, but if your technique's off, you're not going to be that great at basketball, right? You have to learn the right techniques, the right skills.
Just reinforcing bad habits.
You're reinforcing bad habits. So you have to learn the right skills and then just pound it home. You can't just like read your sales structure or kind of memorize part of it, but you don't have the rest of it memorized, because then you're just winging it most of the time. You're just losing deals you could be. So that's what I see as a key difference with salespeople is, first of all, they have to be willing. You have to be competitive. I think you really have to be competitive in sales. Like you have to want to be really good. And that drives you to, you might have some internal drivers like, hey, I got to get out of debt or I got to provide for my family or whatever. That's good. You have to be driven, whatever, even if it's a fear. Like if you have a fear, like I don't want to be poor because I was poor as a kid, even that, if that fear drives you to get up in the morning, to every place you drive, you're popping in training and listening to it. I did that all the time. I never listened to the radio ever. Like if you said, oh, I love this song, I'd be like, who sings that? I've never even heard that before. I wouldn't even know, right? Yeah. And I got married and I drove my wife at the time crazy because I would never listen to anything. When she'd get in the car, I'd have to listen to the radio and stuff. And I'm like, I'm like losing brain cells. But everywhere I went, everything I did, just like you, I was rehearsing, I was practicing. I was like, how can I ask this question better next time? That's all I thought about. And when you think like that, just like Michael Jordan and Kobe and LeBron, that's how you become great. And that's why you get paid a lot of money. No other reason for that.
Yeah, it's a beautiful meritocracy. Sales is very, very close to athletics, because it's just the better you are, the higher you go. There's no really, really good salespeople out there that just haven't gotten their break yet. It just doesn't exist.
That's true.
No, I'm amazing in sales. I just haven't found the right account. Oh, okay.
No, if you're amazing at sales, the accounts find you every day. You get offered different opportunities every other day when you're great at sales. When you're not great at sales, you don't get offered anything. You're commoditized as a salesperson.
Exactly. And we don't want to be commoditized. That'd be the worst thing.
We don't want to be pushed away by every business owner like, maybe we'll look at you, you don't really have the track record yet. Go sell something else. But when you become great, every door, every opportunity opens up for you. You can pretty much write your own ticket and go anywhere in the world you want to. But you first have to put in the effort. You have to put in the time. If you're a business owner, you have to do the same thing. One thing that we always train companies to ask in the interview process is this one question. It's the most important question. How much money did you invest in sales training to learn more advanced skills in the last 12 months? Oh, I didn't invest anything, but I took a course that the company bought for me. Well, what does that tell you? This guy's really not that serious, or this gal's not that serious. If they say I spent $50, I bought 2 books, what does that tell you?
Yeah, I spent $40,000 last year.
Yeah, exactly. It shows, right? You spend that type of money on advanced skills, you make a ton of money from that, right? So if somebody comes in and is like, hey, I spent $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 on sales training last year, that's the people we want, because we know that they're motivated to get better, to make more money. If somebody comes in and says, well, I read this book on how to win friends and influence people, and my company brought in a trainer for 2 days. next. Because we know they're not that serious.
Exactly.
It's almost like a hobby for them.
Yeah, we don't want those people.
No hobby.
I want people who are hungry, people who want to get better. Like sales, when people really understand sales, because I think sales it's like a hockey stick. It's like a plane taking off, you sort of get this, you get better. And all of a sudden you hit this point where you're like, I get it now, like that. And I'll coach people and they'll literally message me and they go, I get it now. Like we coach a guy, Liam, great guy. He literally messaged me the other day. He's like, I was on a call and I was like, yep, I got it. I was like, I got it. I figured it out and I was like, welcome to the Matrix, buddy. And he was just like, he's just like,
blue pill.
Yeah, he's like, I get it now. And it really is, it's that moment. You're like, oh, okay, I get this now. Like, I've got this dialed in. Pretty confident I can sell anybody anything.
No, it's true. I remember, we run a lot of ads on Facebook and other social media channels. And sometimes we like to get on there and slap people around when they make weird comments or whatever. Yeah. I remember some guys like, oh, I'm so great at selling. I could sell ice to an Eskimo. And he's like, and I said, well, yeah, I'm not that good because I would never want to sell an Eskimo ice, but I would definitely be open to selling them like a fur coat to keep them warm, some gloves, some really nice boots, and maybe a really nice warm furnace. I would definitely be open to selling them that. And he's like, what? I'm like, dude, I just love that mentality. Like, oh, I'm so good, I could sell ice to an Eskimo. Really?
Yeah.
Because I'm not sure I'd want to sell ice to an Eskimo. What problem would that solve for them?
Yeah. You got fish? I got fish. Cardone.
You need to eat? We can sell you some fish for your stomach.
Did you watch that Cardone Belfort podcast?
Which one was it? Oh, the one Cardone. Where supposedly, I watched some of it where Belfort asked him a question. He said, not interested is a level of interest or something weird.
Yeah, he just did a story when he used to sell fish. And he was like, Belfort was like, so what was your sales pitch? And he goes, I got fish. You want fish? That was sales pitch. He was serious. In dead face. It was very funny. He's like, I just walk around saying, do you want fish? And Jordan was trying to help him out like that, but he just didn't. I don't know. Obviously, Grant was a little bit off that day or something like that, but it was very funny because Jordan was really trying to help him out. And it just didn't.
Maybe it's been a while since Grant's been on the phone selling or something. Who knows? I don't know.
Well, Grant also said that he charges for the same course $80,000 and $80. And then Jordan was like, no, it's a different course, different things. And Grant was like, no, it's the same.
He said that?
Yeah. I was like, I could see the PR department at Cardone going, no,
don't say that. Oh my God.
Yeah, it was pretty funny. Yeah.
That's epic. That's epic. Stuff. Hey, any last words of advice for any business owners or sales professionals listening today before we end the show?
I think business owners is like, I've spoken to a lot of business owners who are like, I'm in the process of hiring a salesperson, and they've been doing that for 6 months.
Right.
You know what I mean? And then they find someone, they hire them, they spend 3 months training them, and then they have like a 4 or 5 month ramp up period before they actually know what they're doing because they don't have a proper training system in place. Right. And all of a sudden you've wasted a year and a half on this process. You know what I mean? It's like,
and if you don't know that person is going to work out.
Yeah. If you don't know what you're doing, get somebody else to do it for you. Right. And then from a salesperson perspective, like learn the skills so that you can, like, an interview is a sales process and you're selling yourself, So the better you get at selling and the better you are at looking at it in that way and advancing your skills, then like the right opportunities will present themselves because you'll be a known element.
Yeah.
Or even if you're not, you'll be able to get in front of people because it's not hard to get interviews. And then you can sell yourself.
Yeah. Even as if you're getting interviewed by an employer, if you come in there as more of a problem finder and problem solver, rather than just like saying how good you are, that's going to open up that conversation because you have to realize the employer, there's obviously a reason why you're in the room. They have a problem, they have a need, and that's why they're interviewing other people to help them solve that problem, which for sales is probably a lack of sales.
Exactly. And, go in there, get the job.
100%. All right, my man. Thanks for being on the show today. Hope everybody enjoyed that. If you have not joined our Facebook group, Sales Revolution, there should be a link on here. You go join Sales Revolution, a Facebook group. We have about 7,500 people in there just in the last 6 months, growing like crazy, growing like wildfire. I think we've had even a couple thousand people join it in the last month. something crazy.
It's a lot. It's really starting to snowball.
Get a lot of people. So you can join the Facebook group. We go live in there about 3, 4, 5 times a week with different tips, different trainings. We do Q&As, tons of different industry people in there, different products, services that people represent. You can always ask questions. We can help you with that. If you have more details about our training options, join the Facebook group as well. You can find those in there. And right when you join the Facebook group, we DM you a special training. We don't even charge you for it. We should, but we don't. I'm not sure why we don't, but it's on objection prevention. We just give it to you for free right when you join the Facebook group. And we'll see everybody next week. Matt, thanks for being on. Be safe out there.
Awesome, buddy. Thank you.
Hey guys, if you enjoyed these, here's another you can watch right over here. Join our free Sales Revolution group. Click the link below, join us, and we're gonna help you. Thanks for watching. We'll see you real soon.